I think if you are your authentic self and you are putting yourself out there, then people who align with you are going to reach out to you and be like, I want to work for you. And you almost get like a cult-like following.
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. And today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Hannah Hammond, the founder of HB Capital and the firm RE. So Hannah, how is it going today?
It is awesome. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk real estate with you because, well, it's a shifting market, but shifting in different ways that I didn't necessarily expect, with interest rates going higher and then kind of lower and all that. So let's just start with the foundation here. Tell us what you do.
Yeah, so I'm here local in Arizona, and I own a real estate brokerage called The Firm, and we do commercial and residential purchases, sales, leasing for our clients. And I also have a national private lending company. So we specialize in offering bridge loans to real estate investors so they can acquire value add assets at a discount, get quick cash, do their capital improvements, and then they generally will refinance us out within 12 months with a conventional loan.
Nice. Let's chat about the way beginning. How did you end up getting into real estate?
So, I came from a family that didn't have a lot of money and wasn't very entrepreneurial, and I really wanted freedom in my life and was very drawn to my best friend who had a lot of wealth, and her dad owned a large company and real estate portfolio, everything like that. And I just started researching like how to build wealth, how to make a lot of money ultimately, and how to have freedom in my life. And I found Rich Dad Poor Dad by
Oh,
Robert
yeah.
Kiyosaki.
The Bible of real estate professionals, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So he's a good friend today, and that book was kind of my lifeline as a child, and I decided I was going to be an entrepreneur and I was going to be a real estate investor. So at 18 years old, I signed up for real estate school, and here I am 10 years later.
Wow. At 18, you signed up for that. That's pretty insightful.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I think by 18, I bought my first property. I sold a few $1 million worth of real estate and started doing the renovation, value add, and the ball just got rolling.
Nice. Tell us about that process? Because I imagine when you're 18 and you go to get a loan, the bank is going to say, What do you want?" Or
Yeah,
something like that. So I imagine that had to be a challenge.
exactly. Yeah, I had no credit, really, no money other than the commission I had just sold. Fortunately, my very first deal was $1.1 million commercial property. It was a list.
Wow. At
Yeah.
18.
Yeah, and it was the only person that showed up to the open house that I held for another agent at my residential brokerage office. So talk about manifest destiny and
Yeah, right.
hard work. Yeah. So I got that deal, made $36,000, and was able to use that. My very first condo I bought was $76,900. I still own it today. It's been cash flowing about $2,000 a month over the past 10 years. It's, gone up over time, but I always have done the short-term, mid-term furnished rental with it. And so I've always been able to cash flow a lot more than traditional. And my mom helped me tremendously at 18. She co-signed on that loan. It was like a $50,000 loan. It was not a huge loan. And I did have, I got a credit card right when I turned 18, and did all the credit card tricks of like, put a few $100 on it, very low of what you're able to spend, and then just pay it off right away. I did that. So I had like a little tiny bit of credit. And I think I was almost 19 by the time I closed on it. And then she co-signed and helped me out, and that got the ball rolling. But I quickly learned that my own credit was never going to get me very far, regardless of how good it was. And so that's how I found out about private lending, which is now the business I'm in now. And I found out about them by starting to use private lenders for my own real estate investments, because the banks were an absolute nightmare. And as an entrepreneur, we write everything off, we depreciate everything. And so it's just a nightmare to try to get bank loans.
Yeah, I remember when we tried to get our first house. I had my own business. I'm sorry, second house. I had my own business. And the banker just said, don't we're not even going to look at your income. We're just going to look at my wife's income. And I'm like, what? I think I make more than her. But
Yeah,
they're like, small business. No, look at W-2. We want W-2s kind of thing.
exactly.
So it was interesting, but whatever. That's the game that they have. Tell me about that financing and the private financing, I should say, because that's a world that I just actually got introduced to. I'm going to say relatively recently that I didn't even know was much of a thing. I knew of outside financing besides banks, but I didn't know it was. I didn't know that it was as spread out as it is now. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's the exact reason I just started the debt fund because it's an amazing way for investors to make really high returns and keep their cash very liquid. And if they have a self-directed IRA, then it's also tax-free. So it's been amazing for me. I absolutely love being the bank. And same concept. I didn't think I could ever be the bank. I thought only banks could be banks, and I didn't think banks could be individual people. And if they could, I thought you'd have to be, uber super crazy rich, a billionaire or centimillionaire or something to even think about that. But I knew this guy local to Arizona, and I ended up using him for a private money loan. Started chatting with him, and he said he had saved up $10 million over the course of his career. He was kind of a retired older gentleman. And he's like, yeah, I just, get referrals from friends and family in Arizona, and I know real estate well, and I lend them up to 75% loan to value on their fix and flips. And I just charge them interest only, a point a month. And they pay me off whenever they like. And that's it. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds really awesome. And so I hired an attorney, kind of learned everything I needed to learn. And my very first loan I did was $50,000. So you can really start with any amount of money. And I've charged 45% interest a year on those smaller loans. So I've had very high returns and very short-term loans. So the cash is super liquid. And then I take that income, invest in real estate, cost segregate the real estate to offset my income so I don't pay taxes. And then I can compound my wealth quickly every year.
That is cool. So how do you market something like that? 'Cause who are you looking for as far as a target audience, and how do you get them to know you exist?
So for me, I have always built all my leads from my network and from social media. So I literally just went on real estate investing groups on Facebook and started posting that I was a private lender. I could fund within a handful of days, and no credit pull, no background check, asset-based lending. And let me tell you, there are unlimited amount of people looking for money at all times, no matter what market you're in. So
I bet.
yeah, I think I had the money out like in 2 days of making those posts.
Nice. And are you lending mostly Arizona-ish, or is this nationwide?
No, it's actually illegal to lend in Arizona without a banking license. You need a broker's license. And so I have been lending mostly outside of Arizona. Also, our property values are very high here. And I wanted to start smaller because I was learning and I didn't want to risk, $1 million on my first loan. And so I started in like Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, North Carolina, some of those places. And many states don't require licensing for investment loans. And as long as they're, not owner user, there are a lot of laws around that with Frank Dodd and everything. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Now I'm licensed to lend in 45 states. I can lend pretty much nationally and have been able to scale that way.
Nice. I was just going to ask you about that as far like SEC. Do they get involved with all this?
Um, depends on what type of fund you want. But if you're just private lending your own money, no, there's no SEC involvement. If you want to start a fund like I did and you want to turn it into like take it to the, stock exchange and start selling shares, then yeah, you'll be regulated by the SEC. But there's everything in between. I'm private placement. So no SEC regulation for my fund.
Nice. So people come to you and they say, "Hey, I got the super awesome deal. Hey, and I need a little bit of cash." How do you tell or figure out who you're going to lend money to versus who you're not going to?
I mean, now with the fund, things have changed a little bit, right? Because that's other people's money. I be a little bit more, do a little bit more due diligence and underwriting. And then especially if you scale a fund and then you want to leverage bank warehouse lines to further leverage the fund, or if you're going to be selling notes, then, the people who will be buying the notes, called aggregators, they'll want credit checks, background checks. They'll want more of like a full file. But if you're just like a individual person, you could do as much or as little as you want. Obviously, the quicker and easier the money is, the more you can charge. So it's a little bit higher risk, but if you truly are only looking at the asset and you don't care if the borrower doesn't pay his very first payment, because you're like, I want that asset anyway, and I'll take it. And as long as you have a heartbeat and an asset, that's all I need, then that's great. And that's how I had been lending with my own capital. I didn't do credit check. I didn't do background check. I didn't do liquidity check. I did nothing. I just underwrote the asset.
Okay. And did that work for you? I imagine it did
Yeah.
for the most part,
Oh
or
yeah.
any
Yeah.
horror
Yeah.
stories there?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've had more recently, since the economy's shifted. I had no defaults for the first 2+ years.
Wow.
Even in charging like 45% interest per year, which most of these loans were only out like 2 to 6 months. But yeah, recently this year I've had a handful of defaults, and now I have to, hire an attorney and get the properties back. But they're all I wanted to go through those defaults before I started my fund. So I kind of saw the bad side, made sure all my docs were dialed in, made sure I understood the regulations in each state. Now I kind of know which states I don't like, or which states I'll charge more in or be stricter on, because, they're judicial foreclosure states versus non-judicial foreclosure states. So there's all of those things that I've learned over the years. And like in Arizona, it's super easy to get a property back. If you have to foreclose, you can have the property back in 90 days. Versus
Oh, wow.
Oklahoma, it's like 18 months and 40
Oh,
grand in attorney fees. So yeah, so those are the things that I've learned as I've lent in many different states, and now have the best attorney in the country to help navigate those waters before I get it.
nice. All right. That is super cool. Tell me just a typical deal. Someone finds a property. Is this multi units, multi millions of dollars, or is it just little stuff and they don't have money to make it work? Who's typical client, I guess, as far as that goes?
It's everything in between. So when I was just doing my own capital, I was going for the little guys, because I was doing I call them micro loans, very low dollar, high interest, short-term loans, on small fix and flip properties. Now with the fund, we'll be doing everything. So from 1 to 4 units, all the way up to large commercial assets. Probably will specialize anywhere up to like $20 million. And then once you get over $20 million loans, usually there's just BlackRock and those kind of more institutional funds play more in that game, like large city developments and large sky rises and things like that, which I have no interest in being in. So yeah, kind of that 1 to 10, $1 to $20 million mark, from single family all the way to multifamily storage facilities, retail, office, condo, things like that.
Okay. So help me understand. They're getting the money, but it's only for a couple months or a few months, because I imagine they're not paying 45% for 30 years. So how do they make their money back to pay you back?
Well, with the fund, more traditional hard money, the average rate is 12% interest per year.
Got it.
It
Okay,
can,
you mentioned a point a month. Got it. Okay.
yeah, that can vary depending on the market and the size of the loan. The smaller the loan, the interest goes up, because you need to make it worth it to pay for your staff and stuff, and for your time. So like on these $50,000 loans and things like that, you can charge 35, 45% interest if there's no usury laws. But a lot of hard money lenders won't do loans that small, because it's not worth their time. So it's actually a great market if you're just trying to get started, because there's not a lot of competition in that micro cap space. Once you're about 200,000 and up, your average rate's going to be about 12% interest, a couple points up front. And then they're people that are buying either a residential asset or a commercial asset that has a value add component, and they need quick cash because they're getting a really good opportunity to buy it, whether it's at auction or, a wholesale deal or whatever the reason. And they're able to take your hard money down for a 6 to 12 month loan while they go make the capital improvements to the property, whether that's a renovation or, adding amenities or whatever that looks like. And then they'll up the rents or sell the property and then either refinance you out or sell the property to take you out.
Got it. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. Okay. I appreciate you informing me. It's so interesting learning about the real estate and the lending game because I guess I'm just dumb when it comes to this stuff. I just assumed it was banks. You get a house, you move on with your life, but all this investment stuff. It is crazy how deep this rabbit hole goes.
Oh yeah, it's a fun game. Let me tell you though, being the bank is a lot more fun than doing the projects, doing the work.
I bet. I bet.
For me,
You
I
don't have
just
to swing as many hammers, right?
yeah, I like to just sit back and relax and tell them that they got this. You're doing a good
Yeah.
job. Believe in you.
Work harder. That's
Yeah.
cool. And then I suppose they're the ones that are hunting down the deals, doing all the stuff, acquiring it, selling it, all that jazz, and you're
Yep.
making a little slice of that pie. So that is super cool. What do you have as far as competition in that realm? Because I imagine there's people doing what you do all over the country, maybe.
Oh yeah, there's lots of competition, especially in the residential space. It's I don't know if you know in the fundraising space like red ocean versus blue ocean, but in the residential space, yeah, there's a lot of competition. There's some really big companies like Kiavi and Lima One Capital, and they have basically unlimited institutional funds, so they can charge much lower interest than someone like myself. They're probably going to be 2 to 3 points lower, but they're more of a traditional bank process where you're getting, credit check, background check, appraisal. They got to go visit the property. It's going to take 30 days to close. So you can't do that if you need cash tomorrow to buy this auction house. So there's pros and cons for sure, but there's everything from that, which is more of like a bank process, to just a one-stop shop, like my mentor who taught me, who will give you the money the next day once he's got the title report and insurance. So it's everything in between. There's definitely not one size fits all. In the commercial asset space, though, just like in the residential brokerage space, there's a billion residential agents, right? It's like everybody you know and their brother is a residential agent, but
So true.
nobody is a commercial agent. Same concept in the private debt space. Not a lot of people do commercial asset private money because they just don't know the space. And they're bigger loans. They take longer to sell if needed. They're just higher risk. And so I really love that space because I am a commercial broker and a commercial investor. And there's just not a lot of competition there. So I think that's definitely a great opportunity.
Nice. So your mentor, you just met this person randomly, or how does that work?
Yeah, yeah, I just met him. He's just a guy in Arizona. He's not my mentor. He just was someone I borrowed money from for a investment. And
Okay.
I just asked him, I was like, "Hey, is this just your own money and how do you do it?" And he just said, "Yeah, that's my own money and this is what I charge and this is how I do it and I love it. It's been great. I've been doing it for however many 40 years." And yeah, that's just what kind of planted the seed.
All
And
right.
that was about it. But yeah, we don't talk or anything. It was just kind of a one conversation thing.
Gotcha. All right. So the investment side, or the I should say the lending side, has that been taking over more of your time than the real estate, or you're trying to juggle both essentially? Or I should say all three, commercial, residential, and the lending side.
Yeah, recently because of starting the fund and scaling that, it has been taking a lot of my time. But my overall vision for my company is basically like, Hannah Hammond Enterprises, and I build my personal brand. Because that's what I do best. I like people, I like connections, I like networking. I have a great network and love building it. And so basically I'm the lead funnel. And then that lead funnel will go into all the other companies, such as the real estate brokerage, the capital raising, the lending brokerage, the coaching and all of those things. And then operations are run from my teams or partners in those companies. So that's kind of
Gotcha.
how I'm trying to build everything out. So I'm not bogged down in operations for any, siloed into any one specific thing.
Fair. Tell me, I'm going to deviate a little bit here. It sounds like you've been very successful, very young. How do you not just, I don't know, hit the beach or something like that and say, you know what, we're good. We won capitalism. We're all good. We're just going to chill.
Oh boy. I am working on that right now. I do not know how to relax. I don't enjoy sitting on the beach. I can't even watch TV. I haven't turned on a TV.
Hannah, oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't
That
turned
is
on a
so
TV. I don't even
no,
know how to work my remote.
it is so funny that you say that because I just had this conversation with my uncle in Colorado, and I'm like, I don't even understand why they put TVs in hotel rooms. I didn't come to the hotel wherever I'm at to watch TV. Like I'm going doing stuff, and that's so funny that you say you have such a hard time relaxing. I'm the same way. It's just not built that way. So thank you so much for saying that. That is so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, my relaxing is like hiking a mountain while listening to an audiobook on personal development or building wealth or scaling company, like, something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I fall asleep to books or learning or something. Now I started a meditation practice because I'm trying to slow down, be more present, enjoy, just the simple things, and not always having to have my identity based around my production and my business, because that's kind of an empty life at the end of the day if that's all you.
Fair. Totally fair. It's interesting you mentioned meditation. I shouldn't say I just started that. I started that a few years ago, and it took me, I don't know, 6 months, a year to actually sit still for 10 minutes and not do something that I considered productive. But the benefits have been, it's one of those things where I'm like, cost benefit analysis. Okay, meditation passes. We'll allow it. Let's keep going.
Right.
But man, that took me a while. So I get it. Super cool. Tell
Yeah.
me about, let's shift into employees because you have a team. And I imagine you want a team that's going to have your similar traits. So how do you find a team that's as driven as you are?
That's a tough one. Let me know if you figure it out.
Yeah, I have not.
I think, since I started being more active on social media and building my personal brand, which has been recently, and the right talent has been drawn towards me. I don't have to
Oh,
find
nice.
them. And so that's been a really big game changer, because I think if you are your authentic self and you are putting yourself out there, then people who align with you are going to reach out to you and be like, I want to work for you. And you almost get like a cult like following if you're really your authentic self. So I've acquired or met or been connected to more incredible people that I think will be with me forever, over the past few months since I started building my social media presence and not out all my channels, than any of the years before, where it was just like word of mouth or putting out an ad for a job post or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, loyalty and commitment and vision is everything. And you should be attracting the talent to you for people who really align with you. Because if they're just finding you because you pay a little bit more, or because you work from home or whatever, like they're not loyal to you and they will leave. So they have to really have a deep reason why they want to be with you and your company, and grow with you long term.
That is cool. That's impressive. Tell me, I want to run down the social media role or rabbit hole, I should say. It's my, I'm just thinking 10 years ago when you started, social media was a different animal than it is now, good or bad. But there's also a huge time commitment to a lot of social media stuff, which I had been outsourcing, but I feel like it's not necessarily the voice. So tell me, how have you done social media, and good and bad, I guess, both ways?
Yeah, I'm no expert. I'm about 3.5 months in from like really my first post. I think I'm at almost 20,000 followers on Instagram, alone. I have all the other channels now too that I'm building out, but and I think 3 months ago I had 1,000 followers, if that. So it's
Nice.
been building, and it's just organic. I think it is a lot of time. It is a lot of money. I do outsource all the editing and the posting, and comments and things like that. I don't want to get consumed in the attention. So I try to not, like, I don't actually look at social media. I just record content, and that's pretty much my role in it. And then I still manage like my direct messages to keep the relationships with people, because that's what matters to me. I care. I don't want to be a robot. However, the big thing for me, I think, is just not being afraid to speak your voice and be your authentic self. And a lot of people, it's just the same bullshit. excuse my language. It's just the same.
No, you're right.
It's just the same crap. You know, they're just like, oh, let's just talk about the market, or let's just talk about how cool we are, or let's just talk about this and that. And I'm out there being like, I was suicidal when I was 18 years old. I struggle severely still to this day with anxiety, depression, self-worth, and all of these things. I am a hardcore Republican because I believe in capitalism and I believe that we should have control and freedom to create the lives that we want and be able to impact other people's lives and create employment and create change in the world and not be a communist society. I speak. I don't filter anything. And although, yeah, sure, there's going to be half the people that hate you and are enraged by it. I could care less. Those aren't my people. And it will draw in the people who are your people and who are learning from you, growing from you, and whose lives you are changing. And those are the people that are, like I mentioned, committed to you forever. Like I have um, a couple of my employees like that. I know that they will be by my side forever. I mean,
Nice.
no matter what.
Yeah, I always think of there's a Sex in the City episode. I don't remember forever ago, but whoever the blonde one is, that was the marketing person.
Mhm.
She's getting some actor guy famous. And I remember these schoolgirls coming to him when he's on the street. And she's like, this is the first step. First, it's the schoolgirls. And then she just labeled who's coming after him next so that he knows what level of fame or success, whatever, that he achieved. And so it's interesting because there's once you reach that level where you have some haters, you're like, all right, we're getting noticed. I always joke with people, I have a call answering service and we'll have clients that complain about telemarketers. And I said, you got to worry when you don't have telemarketers, because that means either people don't know your number or they know your number and they think you're broke. They don't even think you have money to spend on telemarketers. So
Yeah.
like telemarketers are a little bit of a way for you to tell that you actually have a pulse. So
Mhm.
appreciate them to a point. Tell me about the real estate side on the commercial end, because that's been a little bit of a rocky tour the past, I don't know, 5 years. I mean, pandemic really shook it up, especially office space. So tell me what your experience has been there.
Yeah, I think since the real impact outside of office was severely impacted by COVID. The other asset classes soared through COVID when rates were low, like everything else. But since rates went up, commercial investment sales have been significantly down, and a lot of the owner user space was office, which got kind of wiped out. So commercial in general has been suffering, at least in my market, and from the reports and stuff I look at, it's pretty consistent across the country. Of course, there's differences in each market, but it's been, transaction count has been down 70 to 80% over the past couple years, which is
Wow.
horrible. It's significant. So the reason I started the firm was because I do not like the way commercial brokerages operate. Not that they're wrong. I just didn't want that for my business because there's, they silo you into an asset class. You can only learn and represent this specific asset class, this specific representation, this specific location. And I think that's a recipe for disaster because markets shift and change. For instance, all the office brokers now have no skill to sell anything else and no book of business because all they did was office for 40 years. And so I sell every asset class. I do every representation. And I also have a full residential division and sell residential real estate as well. So regardless of what's going on in the market, I can just shift and pivot to make sure that my business continues to thrive. And that's what I've done. So I've just medical office, owner user medical office. I've done a lot of that recently. My volume has gone down as far as number of sales, but I've been doing bigger deals. So fortunately, my business hasn't really been impacted at all. But almost everyone I know has had a significant impact on their business. So we'll see with rates coming down. I think it'll be obviously a better opportunity, but prices are still super high here in our market. Even with rates dropping a little bit, the numbers don't work. You'd have to put 50% down to break even, and it just doesn't work. So I think the only real opportunity is if we have a significant price drop, or recession of some sort. And I think with a lot of the assets that were bought on floating rates or with rate caps, back in COVID time frame when rates were very low, those rate caps are expiring. Usually those are anywhere between like a 3 to 7 year lock. And if that jumps from a 2.5% to a 5.5%, you're underwater, and then we've had rents going down, we've had vacancies going up. So just a lot of negative factors, especially in the multifamily space in particular. And so, and obviously office and things like that. So it'll be interesting. It's kind of it's a tough time for sure. And then lately the excuse I've been hearing from buyers and sellers is we want to see what happens to the election. We're not making any decisions until we see what happens to the election. So everybody's kind of just like holding their breath right now.
It's interesting. I'm going to pick on those people if you don't mind a little bit. Because I always, when I'm trying to sell people something, they're like, we're going to wait till after Christmas. We're going to wait till after this holiday, after my daughter graduates, after something. And I'm like, well, what do you think is going to happen the day after the election or December 26th that is really going to change this thing that we're talking about? We're not talking about what kind of t-shirt you're wearing or what kind of flag you're going to put on your truck or whatever. Like, we're talking about commercial property for your business or something that's really not necessarily dependent on this arbitrary thing that they put as the deadline. It's interesting. They kind of kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, I get it. I do think that who gets elected will have a significant impact on the real estate market. I do believe that. So I
I
understand.
imagine so. Yeah, I mean, over time, but it's not going to be an overnight thing.
Right. It's not going to be like November 6th, here we go. But I think it's just the outlook of the buying an asset that they're going to hold for the future. I can see that. Like if one party gets elected, if the Republican Party gets elected, I think the real estate market will do a lot better than if the Democratic Party gets elected. And I think pretty much everyone I know is on the same page with that. That's a real estate investor. So that's why they're kind of like on the sidelines, just because of the policies that are in place on that party. Has nothing to do with one person or the other. It's just the policy that the real estate policy that would go into effect or not go into effect depending on who gets elected, which will have a significant impact on investors. Like cost segregation is a very, very important policy, and that will have a huge impact on the real estate market if that gets taken away.
Is there talk of that getting taken away?
Well, it's already been being taken away this is the third year.
Oh, right. Because it was 100%. Okay.
Yeah. So we're at 60%. We're almost going to be at 40%.
Right.
And if Trump gets reelected, it's going to be back to 100%. So I know we're all chomping at the bit for that.
Yeah. I'm just going through my first one of those right now. And I feel, I've talked about this on other podcasts with some accountants, but I'm like, why did I have to learn about this on YouTube instead of my accountant saying, hey, James, funny story, cost segregation is a thing. But instead it worked out where I had to go to my accountant and say, hey, accountant guy, funny story, what is it, cost segregation? And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. I'm like, what do I pay you for? Shouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I had to teach my now fired accountant what cost segregation was. And that's when I realized, every time I mean, my whole life, it's like nobody is there to help you. They're out to help themselves. And you have to mind your own business, meaning mind your own money, have your own business, care about your own money, and not expect that anybody you hire is going to do it for you. And so now I have the best CPA in the world. He was an IRS tax auditor. Oh,
nice.
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, he has saved me a lot of money. So he's awesome, but it took me a long time to find him. Unfortunately, he's getting ready to retire. I don't know what I'll do after that, but now I know all the knowledge in my head, so I can teach the next idiot.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Tell me, let's dig into a little bit about brokerage. Why did you end up starting your own brokerage, and how big of a deal was that, or is that, to start your own brokerage?
Yeah, I really wanted to get serious about being a commercial broker. I did not want to let go of my residential business that I had built up over time, because I still buy my own residential properties, whether it's primary residence or investment property, and I still get referrals all the time for residential real estate, and I know how to sell them, and so I sell them. And brokerages are either one or the other. They don't let you do both. And I wasn't gonna accept that as an answer. So I knew I had to start my own brokerage, and I started the firm And we have the two divisions, and agents can do both if they like to do both. Like obviously they always kind of specialize in one, but they have the opportunity to represent their parents or represent themselves on the other side, and there's support to help train them through that if they don't have that experience. And then also I wasn't excited about paying 50% commission splits to CBRE either. So now I make 50% more on my money. And I wasn't excited about being siloed into any specific asset class or any specific representation. So ultimately it came down to freedom. Freedom is my highest virtue in my life, and it's pretty much been the theme of my life for as long as I can remember. And the brokerage allowed me to have ultimate freedom in my real estate business. And I don't have a ton of agents. We only have about 20 agents, and that's intentional. I didn't open the brokerage to recruit a bunch of agents. I did it more from my own book of business. But people, will come to me, and if they're a really good fit, then I will allow them to come aboard and they get those same benefits. But I definitely do not recruit or anything like that.
20, that's still decent size. I've certainly known brokerages that were smaller than that. So yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's more than enough.
I
It's
can
more than
only
enough.
imagine.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I can imagine you're probably similar to me in that in the morning you get those text messages or your phone rings or dings, and you're like, what fire is vibrating my phone right now? Especially the early one, the 7:30 in the morning ones. Because
Yeah.
it's never like, hey, how's it going? I found a bag of money for you at 7 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. No, I wake up now. As soon as I wake up, I meditate in bed. I lay down, I do a 10-minute meditation, and that has really helped me just start calm. Because I used to start with my frequency like through the freaking roof. I wake up like, all right, here we go. Like I'm on the roller coaster ride, and I changed that pattern. So 28 years later, I finally wake up and I have a calm energy. I go for my morning walk, I journal, all of this before my phone comes off do not disturb. So nothing can mess up my brain until I am in a peak state of mind every single day. I refuse to look at my phone. And so that's been really helpful. And then, it's like, that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We're problem solvers. And so I just try to really, I think that has to do like your success in life and especially business has a lot to do with your, ability to react, to respond. Like responsibility is your ability to respond to the situations that life throws at you. And if you can't handle the problems that arise every single day and they really rattle your feathers, then it's going to be really tough to really accomplish a lot in life or take on a lot of responsibility, because you're just going to be a wreck, and you're not going to be happy.
Right. Yeah. You end up having a heart attack. Your business will kill you.
Yeah, it
So
will.
that's
Fast.
not cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your cool people, the brokers and all that jazz. They can do what they want. Tell me about training for them, because I imagine that's a challenge, getting people wherever they're at in their career to know what to do and to make sure that they maintain the principles that you have with your business.
Yeah, so I train values first. So I only allow anybody to come aboard if they have the same values as I have. Integrity being number one, continuous improvement, a variety of those types of things, positivity, and all the things that are my highest virtues. And then I only hire people that are heavily entrepreneurial focused. I don't hire employee mentalities or people that I need to babysit. And I'm very blunt and forward in the beginning. And then I have a full back office that has a mentorship program with recorded videos built out, so I don't have to continue to repeat myself over and over again. And then once they have clients, like for my commercial mentorship program, once they go get a lead with all the tools that I taught them in the mentorship videos, they go get leads. And then once they're ready to write LOIs and or purchase contracts, anything like that, then I have a staff that can help them, and then I can also help them as well in real life, so they can just get the experience firsthand. So it's been fine. Like it's been great. I love teaching and training. I get a lot of fulfillment from passing on my knowledge, and it helps me hone my skills as well. And especially as I learn new things and then teach it back, it really imprints it into my own brain.
Yeah, it's one of the things, right? Is the more you teach the thing, the more that you know it. So very cool. Have you ever had any are they employees? I don't know
Yeah.
if with real estate are they employees? I don't know how that works.
Technically, I mean they're 1099 contractors, but
Got it.
yeah, they, you pay them.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair.
they're employees. They're just not W-2.
Got it. Okay. So your employees, have you ever had someone that was really driven? They got the right mindset, but it's just not happening. They're not making the sale or not meeting the people through their network to actually
Oh,
close deals.
oh my God, almost all of them. The success rate is very low. Yeah.
Okay.
In in real estate, I mean, it's like in any business, it's like a 95% failure rate.
And how does that conversation go between you and them when you got to tell them, hey, it's not me, it's you.
Um, they know.
Okay.
They know. I mean, they'll point the finger and be like, "Oh, well, I want more training or I want more one-on-one time or I want whatever." So, I'm gonna go try out this other brokerage. And I'm just like, I think that's a good idea. I think that'd be great for you. And if you're someone that needs, more support or needs a change, then I really support that. Like I want people to flourish. I do not have agents there for my own gain because I make a lot more money doing other things than teaching or doing that type of thing. So that's really kind of my passion project and how I give back and help bring other people up to teach them try to get them to get to where I am faster than I did and make less mistakes than I did. So yeah, I have those conversations with them and that's totally fine. And I help them provide resources for other places that might be a better fit to give it another shot. But, I always say you can't put in what God left out. Some people just don't have it in them to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Because if the whole world was entrepreneurs, then, there would be other jobs that weren't filled.
Yeah.
Um,
We need
so
employees.
exactly. And so that's okay. Like if you're not cut out to be a entrepreneur, or maybe it's just not a real estate entrepreneur, maybe your passion is somewhere else. And it's all part of learning. I've started multiple businesses and ended up getting out of them. And that's okay.
Fair. Totally fair. You want to talk about any of those? I'd love to hear.
Oh yeah. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, most of my Achilles heel is relationships. I start businesses with men and it's supposed to be a business relationship. And then they always agree to that. And then they, end up wanting to be with me and marry me and live happily ever after. And I'm like, no, I told you in the beginning, I did not want that. And it's supposed to be a business relationship. And now I'm like in between a rock and a hard place. And
Yeah.
now I lose my business. So that's unfortunate that I continue to make that mistake and continue to get into partnerships and thinking that it'll be different the next time. So now that's a hard rule for me. I will never partner again, at least not with a man, because it just doesn't work. I've done it 5 times.
Holy
And
cow.
5 times it's ended up the same way. So yeah, I've restarted 5 times. I've had, I had 3 construction companies: a general construction company, roofing company, glass company. I moved out to Hawaii for a brief time. I got my real estate license out there. I worked as an engineer for CAT and ended up quitting. That was my very first job right out of college. And I ended up in a relationship with one of the managers there and ended up leaving that career. So I've had so many career changes and everything like that, but ultimately I had a drop shipping business right out of high school when I was 18 years old. I built out a whole drop shipping store. But real estate was the one thing that stayed consistent in my life year after year after year, even though I was doing other businesses or jobs or sabbaticals or whatever I was doing, I was always doing real estate. And so finally I was like, all right, I'm going to stop trying to find something else. Like real estate's my thing. Real estate's where I built my wealth. Real estate's what I consistently enjoy. And I'm just good at it too, which helps. So yeah, here I am today. And I actually did with HB Capital, I was going to bring in a partner and I recently stopped myself and I'm like, nope, I'm not going down
Gotta rule.
that path. And so I did it. I said no, and we're going gung ho. Just Hannah, just Hannah.
That is cool. I mean, not the downsides and all that jazz, but it's a journey, right?
Yeah. No, it
I,
all worked out great. I don't regret anything.
man, the partnership thing is challenging because I've had partnerships that went really well. I've had partnerships that were train wrecks, and I I shy away from them. I'm certain not for the same reasons that you have, but it's just, I don't know, man. Independence, freedom, it's tough to do when you have a partner in that realm. And I guess you feel like you're doing a lot of the work and you're like, wait a second, this person is making some cash off my hard work. And or I suppose it could work vice versa too. It hasn't in my world, but it can. So yeah, it's tough. Partnership thing is tough. It's a relationship
It's
just like anything else,
yeah, it is, and
good or bad.
mine have all come to an end. So
Well, they
I
all do eventually, right?
yeah, it's just a matter of when. Like they
Yeah,
might be a 50-year relationship, it might be a 5-month relationship. You just don't really know until you know. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go more the approach of maybe profit sharing or phantom stock or just employees or commission based or things like that over, or if there ever was a partner, they would be a minority partner and I would have full control and there'd be an easy buyout opportunity or exit opportunity for both of us. So I definitely am going to do things different. No more like 50-50 down the middle, we're in this together type of stuff. I think it's an absolute disaster. And it doesn't normally end well. But sometimes like for instance, getting started in my construction companies, I wouldn't have had the confidence to grow to 100 employees in 12 months if I didn't have him as a partner. So,
Holy cow.
I learned a lot and it gave me a lot of confidence to then go start my next company on my own. And well, I ended up bringing a partner in on that one too, but it all works out. Sometimes if it's either bring in a partner or do nothing, then bring in a partner because then you get the experience and then you at least take action.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Totally fair. Yeah, and it helps. There's confidence, or I guess I don't know if it's necessarily confidence, but you certainly have someone else that you can bounce
Security.
ideas off of if you don't have enough
Yeah.
experience in that realm or that particular industry. So that's fair. Oh, tell me, I guess I don't have too many more questions because I know we're running out of time here. Tell me the social media thing. I just want to dig into more because I know that that's been a huge, huge tool for people. What do you find that people like or really, I guess, what are the posts, I guess, that you've seen that have really grown, that have helped your business, not necessarily just people clicking the like button or something like that?
Uh, I mean, I don't have a call to action. I think that's the number one thing is don't just start a social media and immediately start selling something. It's like I plan on providing value for 3 years before I have any call to action.
For 3 years.
Yeah, for 3 years. Yep.
Holy cow. That's a while.
Yep. Yep. And so that's how Alex Hormozy did it. That's how Gary Vee did it. That's how a lot of these guys who have very big cult like followings did it because all they did for years was provide value and they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to provide value and they still provide incredible value. But now they have so much trust and they've helped people so much that those people now have the funds to reinvest some of that into continued growth and success in their business. So that's going to be my approach as well. That is my approach. I just put out value. And yeah, I get people reach out all the time and they're like, hey, I want to, I want a loan or I want to invest money or I want to buy real estate or I want to sell real estate. And that happens, but I'm not asking for it. I just share what I'm doing and I share my journey and my struggles and my wins and what I learn and what I do. And then people just organically will reach out. But my biggest viewed post has, I don't know, like almost 600,000 views. And it's just a 60-second reel. And that post says 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs have lived or witnessed some sort of trauma in their childhoods. And entrepreneurs have a sort of comfort in chaos. And they almost feel uncomfortable when there is no problem to solve. And that's just something common. And so, just being able to resonate with people and just talk about things that are real and not just, I don't know, surface level stuff. Because there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of Me Too stories. There's a lot of people just talking about themselves in a way that's not really serving other people.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair. That is, I'm going to dare say impressive because I mean, you're young And to have that kind of insight instead of just the superficial, look at me, blah, 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 making money, whatever, I'm on a boat kind of thing. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. And
Thank you.
I would certainly say you're not wrong. Out of 9 out of 10, that's probably 9 point something, right?
Right. Yeah. If they say they don't have trauma, they just don't know they don't know it, but they do.
Yeah, and I suppose it goes back full circle to the whole having a hard time relaxing. Like when you're relaxing, you feel like my job on this earth is to help people grow, and it's really tough to do that unless you're chatting with them, sipping mai tais on the beach, kind of thing.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
certainly can help them grow sipping mai tais and all that kind of stuff, but it's
yeah.
just one of those things where if you don't have a problem, you'll almost create a problem.
Exactly. And I've been studying a lot of Dr. Gabor Mate and stuff because I realize I am very disconnected and I have used workaholism as my coping mechanism. It's not just like, oh, I'm a successful person. Like, no, I'm a disconnected person that is not attached to my body and my feelings. And I am creating self-worth and identity in my production and my success. And that's ultimately what it is. I have to be beautiful. I have to be rich. I have to be successful. I have to be this. I have to be that, because ultimately deep down, as a child, I thought I was a worthless piece of crap and I was ugly and no one loved me and no one wanted me and no one would listen to me. And I had to take care of myself and I had to prove that I was valuable and worth something. And so that has driven me my whole life. And I didn't necessarily even know that until now that I'm doing all of the work, right? That's what the work is. You go to therapy and you start to learn about trauma and healing. And Dr. Gabor Mate says that the primary trauma in people isn't being like beaten or starved or sexually abused or anything like that. Obviously, those are severe trauma, but the primary trauma in people that even open the gateway to that other thing, that those other severe traumas happening, is not feeling seen, heard, or protected by your parents when you're just a baby to an infant, like from 0 to 5 years old, or all the way up to 18 years old. And so that little thing, which is so common in almost so many households, because if your parents have that trauma, then they can't see you. They can only project their own wants, needs, fears, desires onto you. As much as they try to love you, as much as they try to see you, as much as they try to be good parents, if they haven't reconnected to themselves and they haven't dealt with their own pain and suffering, then they will pass that trauma right back onto you because you as a child didn't feel seen, heard, or protected. And that's how we develop these addictions. And most entrepreneurs struggle from addiction, whether it's work addiction, sex addiction, food addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction. They're very addictive people, and usually they have that common trait.
Fair. It's interesting. I have a 10-year-old son, and I want to give him a better life than what I had as a kid. But then I think the life that I had as a kid paved the way for what I'm able to do right now. So it's this conundrum of giving him a good life, but not giving him such a good life that he's a little pansy or just some worker bee that's not really making the world a better place when he grows up and gets out of the house.
Yeah, and the thing to give him a better life is to make sure that you see him, you hear him, and you protect him, and that's actually him, like for his wants, his needs, his desires, his authentic self, and not what your fears are, like, oh, whatever, like my parents didn't like know where I was at and something really bad happened to me, so I'm going to be a control freak. Like, not like that. Like, I'm going to see my child for who my child really is, and love them unconditionally and be there for them unconditionally, outside of money or lifestyle, right? It's just like truly being there and seeing them as a child, because that's where the trauma comes from, is them not feeling that way. So I don't have kids, so don't take parenting advice from me, but that's just from what Dr. Gabor Mate, who's a parent, that's kind of what he teaches. Like, that's the best gift you could give to your child, however way you're raising them.
Fair. Yeah, they don't come with instruction manuals, so I'm certainly not saying that I know what I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things where I I guess I used to play with boxing a little bit. And it was one of those things where you rarely found a person that was a boxer that grew up rich. It was typically poor people because that's just what you have to do, survival thing.
Yep.
So like the Mike Tysons of the world and all that jazz came up that way. So it's similar in that. And you just want them to have something that makes them stronger, but you also don't want them to have to suffer through some stuff. And it's a conundrum because you're like, well, in order to get stronger, you have to suffer at least a little bit. So, and that goes with entrepreneurs in any realm when they complain about problems or don't learn to solve problems or make decisions fast, kind of thing. It can be challenging. So you gotta learn that.
I mean, the journey is all just the challenges. It's ups and downs. It's peaks and valleys. It's just like a heartbeat. And if you want a flat line, then flat line is dead. So
True.
I welcome all of it. I don't ever wish my challenges away because
no. Oh my gosh. Nobody gets excited to go on a flat roller coaster.
No one wants that.
No. Hannah, how can people find you?
Best way, Instagram at Hannah B. Hammond. And all my other links are on there. I have a link me, it has all my LinkedIn, YouTube, all Facebook, everything like that. And then if you DM me on Instagram, I do manage my inbox and can get back to you as soon as I can.
Do you on Instagram you do?
Yep.
You have to be a busy woman.
Oh yeah, I have hundreds of notifications at any given time, but I try, usually on the weekend I'll spend a few hours like trying to catch up.
Wow. How do you not go insane with that? Because it's got to be tough to scale.
Well, I don't manage really my comments usually. I like have my assistants kind of respond and like comments and things like that. But direct messages, I have a system. I have a primary like personal folder that has all my private friends. I have a general folder that's like all my business connections. And then I have a request folder. That's all like the people who I'm not connected with that I don't follow or I don't know. And then those are the ones that I kind of get to eventually as soon, like when I can. So I just have a prioritization for it all.
I'm so happy that you said that you have a system. That is super cool.
Yeah,
systematize everything.
Yeah. And I have my employee like go through the general and the request, and then they'll send to me the things that need my attention. And if it's something that's just like spam, like marketers, like there's a bunch of marketers trying to like, hey, can I edit your videos and stuff like that? Then, they just handle that.
Gotcha. Super cool. Thank you so much for being on the show, Hannah.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. My name is James Kademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Hannah Hammond of HB Capital, as well as the firm. Is it real estate? I just see RE, but I suppose
it's RE. Yeah.
Fair enough. And Hannah, can you tell us that Instagram handle one more time?
At Hannah B. Hammond, HANNAH BHAMMOND.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends, especially those that may need a little bit of inspiration or they're in the real estate game on either end. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.